What is up, Alpha Team, Alpha Family? We are back with another episode. Excited to be back, back to the United States. I know I was gone for a trip in Europe for 3 weeks, so we kind of slowed down there for a bit. But I'm back. It's a beautiful Sunday. Today was a beautiful Sunday here in Charlotte, and we're gonna go ahead and get started with the solo episode, a solo podcast, which I will speak about 7 topics that I have learned from a recent book that I just read, Reality Transurfing, and how can I apply these topics into my sales, into my business. The first thing that I would love to speak about is understanding the role of intention in sales. This is something that I've preached since the beginning of my journey, and the reason why I have is because through this industry, it is having a sales job or a full commissions or a business is something where you're the only one that is holding yourself accountable and responsible for the things that you're doing, which, it's one of these things where, like, if you make money, it's because of you, and if you don't make money, it's because of you. You can't really blame it on anybody else. But this is why intention comes in, right? So it is easy to get carried away when you're the only responsible person for yourself, and it's easy to start taking it easy. The majority of us and everybody, it's wired from school that we're meant to have a job. So we're meant to go in and clock out. The wonderful thing about this opportunity, this industry and business in general, is that you get the opportunity to build your own life, to create your own lifestyle. And it's through the power of intention that you are able to do that. And what I mean by this is, if you go a week or let's say we go a day and we go out there and we're prospecting and we're talking to customers, but our mentality is maybe thinking about what you're going to do or what you're going to eat, what you're going to do after work, what are you going to do the weekend, who you're going to hang out with, your girlfriend, or a TikTok video you just watched, then you're not really there physically, right? You're there physically, but you're not there mentally. And it's all about being there both ways, because I learned from this book that opportunity will show up, opportunity will be there, but whenever we're not there intentionally through the physical realm and the mental realm, we're not able to execute at the highest level possible. We're not able to see those opportunities, and a lot of those things happen in business also, and relationships, right? Sometimes, we deal with problems, or we're talking to our partner, or we're talking to our friend, or we're talking to our siblings, but we're not really there in the conversation, and we're thinking about something else. When that happens in business and sales, unfortunately, we lose the ability to fully execute and fully be successful in that avenue of things. So every time that I'm talking to a new sales rep that comes into my office or my team, I go into I always go into like how intentional they are being, because if we're prospecting and we're in the phone the entire time, then we're really not going to be successful, and we're not really going to get sales. We might get a sale or two, but we're not going to be as successful as we can be. So that's the first thing and the first topic that I would love to discuss. And the second topic is navigate pendulums in the business world. What I mean by this is that negative mentality. The negative mentality is a pendulum. There's good pendulums, there's bad pendulums. However, you going into a negative sphere and start victimizing yourself, it's part of a pendulum. It's something that the more power that you give it, the more of that you will attract, right? The more negativity, the more problems, the more pointing fingers, the more pointing out externally, and we're not looking internally. So this pendulum, and how do you get out of this pendulum, right? Because whenever you're trapped, you're in a world where it's everybody's fault, and I'm not at fault, and I'm not making money, or I'm dealing with rejection, and it's not because of me. Like, I'm doing everything perfect. And whenever you are thinking in there's a little bit of ego trap with that, but you're trapped in a pendulum. The way that you get out of a pendulum is the moment that you notice that there's some negative flow, there's some energy in our lives, is the moment that we stop giving it power. And I'll give you an example of this. I was coaching a guy a while back, and he unfortunately got scammed. I think it was $9,000 out of his business bank account, and it happened out of nowhere. He told me how it happened. Some people called him, and And he thought it was a bank, so they kept asking him questions, and they proved it. They had a lot of information about him. So he noticed he lost those $9,000, and he stressed about it a little bit, but he actually called me, right? And I really appreciated that he called me, and I was actually through this chapter whenever he called me, and he was like, dude, like, I just don't know what to do. And, you know, anybody's going to be stressed over $9,000. That's a lot of money. And I was like, dude, just don't give it power. Look, there's nothing that you can do about it right now. As long as you do everything that is in your power currently, that's all you can do. But if you sit there and you go back home and you reflect that energy to your spouse, to your people, and everybody that interacts with you, and you're in a negative flow, well, guess what? Like, it's just gonna continuously like get worse and worse and worse. But if you don't give it power, it's you let it go, just flow with it. That money will come back. And a week later, 2 weeks later, he calls me. He tells me that the bank actually got the money back, which is amazing, right? And that's part of a pendulum, is not giving it power. Because if you guys think about it, how many people losing $9,000 are going to sit there and stress about it and try to figure out a way and like call the banks and blame the bank and this and this and this, I need my money. But whenever you go into that mentality of like, no, like, whatever, like, let's let it go, let's flow with it, whatever, like, let me focus on what matters right now, you're gonna be a lot more successful. So that's the second thing. Third thing, the importance of energy management for salespeople. And this part is very crucial because we don't realize how important energy is until we start working and energy matters. And what I mean by this is, like, if I'm very low energy and I wake up low energy and I have a salary job or an hourly job and I go work here, I'm going to get paid the same exact thing, no matter if my energy is low or no matter if my energy is really high, and I'm doing everything in my power to maybe have a successful day, right? But whenever you're in sales, especially full commissions or business, you start to understand that if I'm low energy, then outcome's going to be low money, right? But if I'm high energy, then outcome's going to be more money. And this is why I always tell my team, usually the person that has the most energy in the room is the one that's usually making the most money. And it's a check-in point, because where's my energy at? Like, where am I at mentally? Like, how are things growing? And, you know, regardless of everything that's going on the back of me, like, I'm still going to show up and I'm still going to be the person that I need to be, high energy. And the reason why that is because if you, I mean, we're all going through something, you know, everybody's, my team is going through something. You that you are watching me, or you're going through something. Everybody is going through something. We're humans. Business is going through something. It's always going to go through something. Nothing's perfect. So realizing these type of things, your energy is what's really important, because when you walk in the room and you allow people's energies to go up, then you know you make a difference in the room. Then that's exactly the things that we get paid for. So overall, encouraging the sales team and the mindful of conserving energy and avoiding unnecessary stress by detaching from the outcome. So understanding that not everything will go the way like that you want it to go. And as a matter of fact, I live in a life where, like, I know that everything will not go the way that I want it to go. And realistically, the reason why I live like this is because whenever it does it, I'm not surprised. But what happens to somebody that is expecting something and it doesn't go their way? When they're emotionally attached to those type of things, what happens is that it tears them down and it brings them down, and their energy is low, and then they start acting like it, and then everybody knows that there's something wrong with that individual. Therefore, they're just attracting that more into their lives. So this is why there's really important to detach yourself from the outcome. So no matter this week goes by, whether we get zero sales, whether we get 10 sales, tomorrow, yes, if we got low sales, and I'm going to be mad, angry, whatever. But I'm not going to live my life in that energy and that frequency. I do understand that. And it's one thing to analyze and realistically see it, but it's another thing to act upon it, right? And that's where I'm at with this third thing. The fourth thing is balance and inner calm in high stakes environment. This one's crucial, and I don't think that there's nothing in the world that could teach me this but business. And the reason why I say this is because there's so many times where problem here, problem here, problem here, problem here, problem here, and you're just like, fuck. And when you don't have any inner peace, and is able to connect with yourself, then you can easily go into a very stressful moment, upsetting moment, depression, anxiety, all of these things, right, that I hear about in the internet all the time. Thankfully, I thank God every day that I don't suffer through things like that, but I've been able to maintain a peaceful mind, calm and balanced as a leader, decision making in high stakes sales situations rather than being reactive or overly aggressive. And actually, business has been my teacher for this, because at the beginning of my business, little things that would bother me, I would stress about it and I might react emotionally upon those things. But overcoming and learning that a couple things after a couple series of experiences, I realized that when you act upon your emotions, now I say it all the time, but at the time I didn't know, you're just gonna get more conflict. And that's not good for you. So I always take a step back, I relax, I analyze the situation from a third party individual. I look at my life, I look at the decision, I look at the conflict or the situation, and I kind of just make a more logical decision, because if it's an emotional decision, it's always not good. And I'll give you guys an example of this. When you're drunk, you guys usually or have done something that the next morning you're just like, fuck, like, why did I even fucking do that? Well, obviously you did that one thing because you're really emotional at the time. And you have, and that's why a lot of people like, drink, and a lot of people have wine, and a lot of people, go out and socialize through alcohol, is because, you're more willing to maybe open up, but also you can easily be very aggressive. Your emotions are higher. And that's why a lot of people drink, when they're going through something difficult, and they try to hide it maybe at times, or maybe when there's a breakup and you feel like alcohol is going to numb that, which it does numb it for a little bit, but realistically you wake up the next day and it hasn't really changed anything. Maybe you called your ex when you were drinking, and as a matter of fact, you will regret it. So that's just a small example of like what happens when you're really consistently chasing and like acting upon the emotional side of your sphere. It's always very important to become aware of those type of things, and I have become very aware of those type of things. Even now, nobody's perfect. We continuously make decisions based on our emotional, and realistically, that's not bad, but there's a difference between emotional and intent and intuition. And you just have to learn how to balance both out and realistically make those logical decisions that you need to make. So, fifth, creating reality by aligning with your goals. And I always tell my team, those people around me, that we get the opportunity every single day to create our own reality. God gives us the opportunity to create our own reality. Perspective is everything. You make it a big deal, will be a big deal. You make it not a big deal, then it will not be a big deal. And this is in sales too, because, sometimes with customers, for example, if you feel like the deal is too high in price, and whenever you go inside the house and you talk to the customer and you're bringing up little words and little statements, the customer's going to feel that and they're going to be like, no, this price is too high. But if you feel like the price is not too high, that is reasonable, then there's no problem why they're gonna feel the same. They're gonna feel like it's reasonable. It's up to our mind, and that's really where I started like believing that we create our own reality. Because if I go to a customer's house that like they're 100% gonna cancel on me, and I'm 105% that they're not gonna cancel on me, I'm gonna win them over because it's all about my conviction. And then I create my own reality, and I'm like, no, like that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. And even if we're going through like the worst thing ever, like something very impactful, and we're like, it's not like we're like looking at this situation and we're like, dude, it's not gonna work out. It's not gonna work out. Even if I think that it's not gonna work out, I'm still gonna tell myself everything will work out. And I can give you guys an example of this. My recent trip in Europe. I do remember. There's a couple situations, right? But we had. Me and my girlfriend had a day planned, and we had a time to get there, and we had reservations, and maybe we got there 30 minutes late, and my girlfriend was stressing about it. She was like, we shouldn't even go anymore, like it's too late, they're not gonna take us, the Uber took forever. And I'm like, dude, like everything will work out. Like, I promise, it's just gonna work out, and it works out, and that happens in multiple avenues and multiple areas of my life. Whether I'm going through shit, whether I'm not, like, going through whatever, like, ideally, what's really important to understand is, like, that those particular words, everything will work out no matter how difficult it is everything. Because if you think about it, you're healthy, and as long as you're healthy and you can move and you're at peace and your brain is freaking operating and working, and you have both hands and you have both legs, like, what else? What else? Like, you have the perfect situation currently, right? So you're in the present, you're living, you're alive. Like, possibly the worst thing that could happen is to you is die tomorrow. And that's it. So ideally, no matter how stressful or how difficult or maybe how hard it is to go through that situation, just understand and fall back into present and be like, dude, I'm alive. Like, God has given me the biggest present that I have is being alive, being in this world, being able to create every single day, no matter how hard and how difficult this situation is, no matter how hard it is. God has given me the opportunity to live and breathe today. And I don't have to, I'm not in a hospital. I'm not stuck in a hospital. Maybe if you were stuck in a hospital, I would understand that you have some shit going on, but you're not. And if you're not, you have the opportunity to get up and do something about it. So that's why that's really important. Dive into your principle that reality is shaped by beliefs and actions, right? So our reality will always be shaped on our beliefs and actions. The reason why we know that this is a wall is because we've been told in the past that it's a wall. The reason why I understand that my name is Brian is because my mom called me Brian, my dad called me Brian when I grew up. But it's Brian. But if I wake up tomorrow and I'm like, my name is Adam, my name is Adam. It's simple, but our beliefs are our beliefs. And sometimes we have a lot of limiting beliefs, and realistically, you create your own beliefs. So if you want to believe that, you can run faster, if you want to believe that you can lift heavier, if you want to believe that, you can do it, then you're going to achieve more success. Whenever you are like going to the gym, it just never happens. I never get a six pack, like no matter how hard I go, like and you're consistently in that mentality, then it's not going to happen because those are your beliefs and your actions, and you reinforce those things with your words. So that's something really important. In a business context, emphasize how aligning your inner thoughts with your business goals can create opportunities that feel almost effortless. And I talk to my team about this all the freaking time. Being in alignment with your goals. Who do I want to become in the future? Where do I want to go? When you understand and when you have a crystal clear mentality on where you're going to go and what you will achieve, everything will start aligning your way, and things will happen that put you either more in alignment or more out of alignment. But once you're clear mentally, you're able to see those things and you're like, no, this thing's not going to help me, so I'll move it out of the way, and then I'm going to continue going towards what I know alignment is. What ends up happening a lot is that we're blurrish mentally because we're consuming all of these freaking toxics and we're listening to all the negative energy around us, and we're paying more attention to drama than to ourselves, and we don't build a relationship with ourselves. What happens is we go so far out of alignment, and when we see this obstacle, we know what alignment is, but we're emotionally out of alignment, so we continue pushing out. Whether that makes sense or not, it's like being in alignment, going in a straight road, and I like to compare it to a vehicle. If you're driving a vehicle, I'm driving a Maserati right now, and I'm driving straight, but when it's not in alignment, what happens? If it's not in alignment, it just goes like that, and then I have to grab it again. It goes like that, and then I have to grab it again. But when it's in alignment, it just goes straight. So that's what that is in your life, with the decisions that you're making, with the goals that you have, and understanding that the reason sometimes we're not in alignment is because we're more emotional and we're not paying attention to logic, and we're not looking at our decision making from the third person view. Okay, so that's fifth. Sixth is working with the flow, reducing resistance and sales. Go with the flow, And what I mean by this is, like, let's say sometimes I'm in a high ticket item sales, and let's say you go to 3 appointments and they all not closed. Well, if you make the biggest deal out of all these three not closing and you're stressing about it, then you will continue to not close. But if you look at it, you're like, look, it already happened. There's nothing that I can do about it other than self-analyze myself, my pitch, my presentation, what's going on. Then we're actually taking action towards fixing that, and it's going with the flow. You know, if your girlfriend breaks up to you with you tomorrow, what are you gonna do about it? You know, like, you're not gonna sit there and cry and stress about it. I hope not. But take action. You know, what did I do wrong? What's my fault? Everything's my fault. From extreme ownership, dude, everything is your fault. The reason why a lot of people are not successful is because they run away from that. Our mind is designed to protect us, and we don't want to take faults. And the first thing that we blame is externally. Is like we start blaming siblings, parents, start blaming girlfriend, we start blaming everybody else, you know. So realistically, we have to understand that it's our fault, and you work with the flow. You know, if something happens over here, okay, boom. It's like going down a river. You know, you find a rock here, well, like, the river's gonna take you here. If you find a rock over here, then the river's gonna take you here. Don't go against the freaking water, go with the water. And that's something very important. That's something crucial. You know, just let things be. If they're not designed to be in your way, they will be designed to be in your way. It's just a little obstacle. You know, it's just a little thing that you just have to work. That doesn't mean don't work hard. What that means is, like, understand if an obstacle gets in the way, then let it get in the way. You know, you don't have to freaking sit there and point it and stress it and, like, just continue to pay attention to it, because the more power you give that obstacle, then the more it's going to continue to show up in your life. So working through the flow, offer ways, serve the flow, opportunities instead of forcing situations. You know, just learning how to see opportunities instead of forcing situations. And this just happened to me realistically with one of my sales reps. He sent me to an appointment. This actually happened yesterday. He sent me to an appointment. I sit down with the guy, you know, build great rapport, and ideally, you know, my intent statement, which an intent statement is like, what is the purpose of this meeting, is like, okay, well, I start asking questions, and I'm like, okay, awesome. So why am I sitting here today? You know, there must be a reason why I'm sitting down today. So why am I sitting down today? I asked that to my customer. Why are we sitting down? Why did you open your doors to me? Why are we both sitting down now together? And he's realistically like, oh, well, because I'm not really interested, but, like, the guy just forced his way, and, like, he just didn't give me the ability to even say no, but I'm not interested. I was like, okay, cool, stop by, but I'm not interested. So realistically, I understand one thing. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to force this guy to buy. Like, he's not my buyer. If he's not in a buying zone, I can't force and shove a buying zone, you know, in his mouth. Okay. Maybe in the future, 2 years ago, Brian, I would have been like, okay, let me push. I'm not saying do not push. Pressure creates diamonds. Pressure is important. But all I'm saying is I know how to read my buyer. And I'm like, okay, cool. So if, hypothetically speaking, this was saving you thousands of dollars every 5, 10, 20 years, you wouldn't do this. And, like, no, like, I wouldn't do it because I'm not interested. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to head out. Peace. Have a great day. The reason why I did that is because that's not my buyer. I'm not going to force somebody to buy. That's not a buy-in situation. So learning to go with the flow and understanding that you will not freaking force things to happen. The moment that you start trying to force things to happen, then they're more than likely continue to get worse and worse and worse. So going with the flow, that does not mean don't work hard on your goals. That does not mean stop working hard on your goals. No, it does not. It just means that if you're not hitting your goals, pay attention, look at it, and don't give that power. Don't be like, I suck, or start shaming yourself because of that. Just understand that there's a level that we have to unlock. There's something that we need to do better for us to understand that. I'm not going to make people buy. I'm going to influence them to buy. That's it. And the seventh one is letting go of excess potential, avoiding overcommitment to outcomes. And this is something very important because sometimes we overcommit and underdeliver, and we have to understand that it's so much better to undercommit and overdeliver and in those particular areas, right? Understand that you're going to physically work the hardest that you can on whatever you're working to achieve in. being overly attached to specific outcomes can create excess potential. So, like I mentioned before, like if you're obsessed with this homeowner and you're like, oh, I'm gonna make $10,000 on this deal, I'm gonna make $15,000 in this deal, and you're walking around the room and you're telling everybody how much you're gonna make on this deal, and you're telling your parents, and you're like, dude, I'm making $15,000. This deal is crazy. I'm gonna make 15,000, and the deal is not even installed yet. Then guess what? That customer 9 times out of 10 is gonna cancel on you. That's something really important. I feel like I have a sales rep right now where like he focuses on that, and it really doesn't work. And me as a leader, I have to understand that people need to make mistakes in order for them to understand like where they're fucking up. I can't sit there and point them out and lead them towards that and like making them understand, because the more that you force or want to force somebody to think the way that you do, the less that they will think the way that you think the way that you want them to think. So I do understand that people have to make mistakes. As a matter of fact, I let people make mistakes. That way they fully understand. And sometimes that's what we got to do. The reason why I am the person today and the Brian that I am today, this version, is because of the amount of mistakes that I have made in the past. If it wasn't for making those mistakes, then I wouldn't be here having this conversation with you guys. I do understand that. And the reason why I'm here is because my parents allowed me to make a lot of mistakes because I didn't have nobody guiding me. And because I made so many mistakes, I gained a lot more experience. And the reason why we're here speaking is because of all of those mistakes that I've made has led me to be here and have this conversation with you guys. So understanding those things, excessive importance and lead of failure. Okay. Encouraging listeners to trust the process and embrace flexibility and how success unfolds. So trust the process and embrace flexibility are the key words in this. Embrace flexibility. Be adaptable. The reason why I'm the person that I am and has came to a point where I can look at and be like, I'm creating opportunity daily, and I think the way that I do is because I'm adaptable. Whatever situation that comes my way, I'm adaptable. Business has made me adaptable. Sales has made me extremely adaptable. How? Whatever the customer's thinking, I'm adaptable to it, Whatever personality type, I'm adaptable to it. Adapt to situations daily, There's people that will sit there, and if the situation is not the way that they want it to be, they're just going to point fingers and be like, oh, somebody come fix it. Well, I'm the complete opposite of that. I'm adaptable, okay? This is not the way that I want it to be. Let me adapt to it. Let me work through it. Let me work around it. Let me start working through it. And that's being adaptable, understanding that like you're just not going to force things to happen. The more that you try to force things to happen, the less that they will happen for you. And that doesn't mean don't work hard on that thing. But what that means is understanding that there's gotta be a way around it, and there's gotta be a flow around it. And let me just go with the flow. Let me go with the flow. Let me not stress, and this has helped me in my life tremendously. This book, I highly recommend to you guys, but has helped me in my life tremendously understand myself, build a stronger relationship with myself, not stress over little things, not stress over who slept in my bed in the past, not stressed over what happened to my car, not stressed over maybe getting a ticket, not stressed over maybe that investment not going through the way that I wanted to go through, not stressed over who scored a touchdown and who didn't for me to make money on the bets. I'm not stressed over that. I can lose $100. Yesterday I lost $100 on a bet. I mean, $100 is nothing, but I made them back today. So I didn't stress about it. I'm like, okay, boom, like 100. Okay, cool. Let's continue going. And that's being adaptable. Is like, I'm not going to give that power, and understanding that whatever situation, whatever problem there is, I'm not going to give it power. I'm going to let it be. It's already existed. I'm going to let it be. I'm just going to flow. I'm going to flow with it, and I'm going to destroy whatever comes my way, and continue going. Having that resilience mentally that no matter what, I will push hard and I will continue running no matter what happens. And just understanding those key concepts in your life and implementing them in your life. And you don't even have to be in sales and business. You could be whatever, implement those, think like that. And if there's something I want you guys to think is like always reflect before you do, and reflect not over reflect. Be careful with those words, because when you over reflect, you over confuse yourself. Don't over reflect. Reflect, boom, decision, go. That's it. And what happens if it's not the right decision? Well, then you made a mistake. Then you will learn from that mistake and just let it go. Learned, go, move. And the reason why people stop is because they look at that mistake and they're like, fuck, like I'm fucked. No, you're not. The only way that you're fucked is if you stop. But if you don't stop, you're not fucked. You can unfuck yourself, as a matter of fact. So that's what's going on. Anyways, I will end it here, guys. I want to thank you guys for showing up with me today. It's very important for you guys to share. If you guys took a little bit of value, please share. Please share this YouTube podcast, Spotify, whatever platform you're listening to this. Send it to a friend. That's at least the very minimum that you can do. Spread the word. And yes, guys, thank you.